Good afternoon. Please rise for the procession of the Distinguished Alumni Award recipients, led by President Wendy Winterstein.
Good afternoon. Please be seated. Welcome to the 2022 Distinguished Awards Celebration at Iowa State University. We are very pleased today to recognize the recipients of the highest awards that Iowa State University presents to our alumni and our friends. As president, I believe that Iowa State is an excellent university because of all of you, our alumni, friends, supporters, faculty, staff, and students. We are a premier land-grant institution because we all care deeply about Iowa State's mission to educate, to engage, innovate, and achieve, and we care very deeply about each other. We are so pleased to have this opportunity today to acknowledge and thank some of the most dedicated and loyal members of the Iowa State family. Before we recognize the awardees, I want to recognize some very special guests with us today. Current and past members of the ISU Foundation and ISU Alumni Association Board of Directors, and the governors of the ISU Foundation. These are the volunteer leaders of Iowa State who devote a tremendous amount of time, resources to support this university. We want you to know how much we appreciate your support and service. Please join me in recognizing them. I would also like to recognize the great leadership of Larissa Holtmeyer-Jones, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Iowa State University Foundation, and Jeff Johnson, the Laura and Russ Talbot Endowed President and Chief Executive Officer of the Iowa State University Alumni Association. Jeff Johnson couldn't be here today, but representing the Alumni Association is Shannon Foote, Senior Vice President of Administration. Larissa and Shannon, would you both stand and be recognized? Thank you. This ceremony is a wonderful celebration of the incredible impact of Iowa State's alumni, friends, faculty, and leaders, and how the impact is on our state, nation, and world. We are recognizing two groups of award honorees this afternoon. First, the Order of the Knoll Awards are presented by Iowa State through the Iowa State University Foundation. They include the Corporation and Foundation Award, the Faculty and Staff Award, the Cardinal and Gold Award, the Campanile Award, and the True and Valiant Award. The second group of awards are presented by Iowa State through the Iowa State University Alumni Association. They are the Honorary Alumni Awards and the Distinguished Alumni Awards. We will begin by recognizing the Order of the Knoll Award recipients. The first award is the Order of the Knoll Corporation and Foundation Award. This award recognizes an entity that has demonstrated generosity to Iowa State University through significant leadership giving, dedicated and long-term service, and assistance to students and faculty through recruitment opportunities and research programs. This award is presented to Kingland. Representing the company is David Kingland, founder, chairman of the board, proud Iowa State graduate. David, please come forward. Powered by Iowa State alumni and the cyclone spirit of innovation, Kingland is now a leading global software and enterprise data management company. Indeed, over the past decade, Kingland has employed more than 2,000 Iowa State interns. Since the company's first gift to Iowa State University 16 years ago, Kingland's contributions have made a deep and lasting impact, most notably the creation of 8 named faculty positions, support for student clubs, and the establishment of student scholarships in several colleges. In addition, the Kingland Hub in the Jardine Business Building is a favorite gathering spot for students, faculty, and staff in the Ivy College of Business, and I have to say, even around the entire university. Kingland is also a strong supporter of Cyclone athletics. Last but not least, Kingland's prominent location in the heart of Campus Town has helped revitalize this bustling area and enhanced opportunities for public-private partnerships. Congratulations to Kingland, our 2022 Order of the Knoll Corporation and Foundation Award recipient. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, President Winterstein. And it's pleased to be here this afternoon representing Kingland Systems. Most Iowa graduates, Iowa State graduates, remember fondly their time on campus and can really recollect how impactful their time was. And my wife Deb and I can both do that. But in addition to those experiences, I want to focus on really the last 20 years, which is a little bit longer than since we graduated, but I'll focus on the last 20 years and the relationships we've made with Iowa State through our team, including Todd and Susan Rognes, who are here. We also had Tony Brownlee, Alex Olson, Courtney Hively, who also are members of our executive team that are Iowa State alums. So we have a long tradition of Iowa State alumni in our executive team within our company. And the interactions we've had on campus have been just truly amazing. We've been very positively impacted by the friends and colleagues we've made over the years, including President Winterstein, the many deans we've worked with in different colleges, and the fantastic faculty, staff, and students here at Iowa State University. We've also been enriched by serving on a wide range of boards, advisory councils. We've sponsored competitions and class and club experiences here on campus as well. So all those experiences have really enriched our lives, and hopefully it's been a positive experience for those that we've touched at Iowa State. But it's really helped provide expertise and support our efforts and aims in Iowa as we've built our business. And as President Winterstein mentioned, the opportunity to work with over 2,000 ISU undergrad and graduate students over the last 10 plus years has been a fantastic opportunity and operation for us. So these experiences have made us keenly aware of how we can help and make a difference through our financial support of Iowa State University faculties and students, and we've done that through scholarships, professorships, and facility support. So today, I accept this award on behalf of my colleagues at Kingland Systems. We strongly believe in supporting Iowa State and the incredible job this institution does for Iowa and the world, and how our little part of the world, the Kingland Systems, has learned and gained so much because of our support and work alongside our friends and colleagues here at Iowa State. So thank you.
Our next award is the Order of the Knoll Faculty and Staff Award. This award recognizes individuals or couples who are current or retired faculty or staff members. They are acknowledged for their substantial commitment to promoting and expanding philanthropy at Iowa State through both personal philanthropy and significant professional and volunteer service. This award is presented to Olivia Madison and the late Gregory Palermo. Olivia is Professor Emeriti and Dean Emeriti of Library Services and a 1972 graduate of Iowa State. Gregory was Professor Emeritus of Architecture. Olivia, would you please come forward? I'm going to talk about you first.
Oh, okay. That's the best part.
Olivia and Gregory were truly an Iowa State team, providing leadership and service through numerous university committees, councils, work groups, including serving individual terms as president of the Faculty Senate. Gregory helped elevate the College of Design as one of the most comprehensive design institutions in the country, with the Department of Architecture consistently ranked in the top 25 nationally. Olivia brought the university library to world-class status, serving every member of the ISU community and researchers and scholars around the world. Olivia was also the chair of my installation committee way back in 2018 and coordinated a spectacular set of events. Together, their philanthropy has enhanced the educational experiences and scholarship endeavors of students and faculty, providing scholarship, support, and establishing the Madison Palermo Library Fund. Early this week, the College of Design and Department of Architecture held a celebration of life for Gregory. I was so pleased to be a part of that celebration to help honor Gregory's incredible impact on the campus and to be in a room where there was so much love and care for truly a very special person. Olivia, we are fortunate for the wonderful legacy of service and support you have both created at Iowa State. Congratulations. Thank you.
I couldn't be more honored to be here. When I received, and Gregory received, the same letter from Wendy, I didn't know what I was getting. We were getting correspondence from the president's office for. I didn't think it's that we had done anything wrong. But I thought, well, maybe there's some new novel way of contributing money to the university. You know, you all have received communications from the university in some way. But I was in the kitchen, and Gregory was in the living room with his elder son, Mark. And so I thought, well, I'll just open it and see what opportunities we're going to have. I could not believe that we were being awarded this unbelievable recognition of our contributions. Because I do know a few of the individuals who have received this in the past, and I really, to think that we were part of now a very select group, and truly an honor. Gregory and I both worked at Iowa State for many years. I was quite senior to him in terms of being an Iowa State faculty member. I started in 1975. I was a wee young thing. They hired 7-year-olds then. But it was such an honor because I grew up in Ames. My father moved here moved the family here to Ames when I was 3 years old, and he got a job at Iowa State University. His mother was disheartened. She lived in Albert Lea, Minnesota, and her dream for her youngest son, Carl, was to teach shop at Albert Lea High. After all, he'd made a wonderful desk when he was a student there, which my older sister still has in her home. He knew how to build things that lasted, and he also showed me and my sisters the value of a higher education and commitment to Iowa State University. All three daughters attended Iowa State University. In part, in those days, it was a little cheaper than going someplace else. But it didn't matter because the education we all received was first class. So I went off to ultimately library school down at the University of Missouri. I didn't want to go too far. And for those of you who've been on the campus there, you'll see that there's a lot of similarities to Iowa State, the campus. And so I felt at home there. And I got a great degree. So I ultimately was hired, surprisingly, to me at Iowa State University Library, and I was hired as a cataloger in history, political science, and law. 3 favorite disciplines of mine. But anyway, it became a long career, and I found continual opportunities to give back in terms of service to the library and to the university. One of my favorite achievements was being elected president of the Iowa State University Faculty Senate. One of my activities as a faculty member was to help develop, as a chair, the current university promotion tenure document, and I have to say the bones of it still exist. You are evaluated by what you do, not some artificial standard. So I met Gregory at a faculty senate meeting in which I was giving a presentation, and I saw this new face. I'd never seen him before. I could see that he was from architecture, and he came up after the meeting and started asking me really good, pertinent questions about this document. Well, somehow that relationship continued well beyond promotion and tenure. And we had a delightful time supporting and believing in Iowa State. We decided to focus our interest, financial support, to the Department of Architecture. Mainly because one of my dreams had been at one point to be an architect, but I was told in those days that was for men. And I should never have believed that. Because it certainly really wasn't true then. And it definitely is not true now. There's no way. So, it was easy to support the Department of Architecture and the College of Design because A, they're a very welcoming group. They'll accept even librarians in supporting their initiatives. And we chose to center our philanthropy in 2 ways. And both of them are very meaningful to us as our own experiences in higher education. The first one was the faculty, staff, and students' foreign travel. And of course, it's for students and for faculty and staff. And I have to tell you, when I was early in my library degree, I was very involved and interested in international librarianship. Mainly, you probably have never heard of it, but the International Federation of Library Associations. It's a great organization, and I joined it. I was elected to represent the United States on one of its committees. But I didn't have funding from the university or the library. And so every time I had a meeting, and I went to some great places, I went to the credit union and borrowed money so I could go. And it changed my life in terms of what I observed. Paris, Barcelona, Stockholm. I was in the Soviet Union when the Soviet Union fell, literally. I walked through barricades to get to my meetings. Little did I know the true circumstances about what was happening. And then the following year, I happened to be in Cuba, which had lost all of its funding from the Soviet Union. And it was an incredible experiences. So it really doesn't matter where you go. You learn and you gain from international activities. And Gregory learned it very firsthand late in his academic career, to his chagrin as he looked back, was the College of Design's Rome program. I visited him there. He was in his element. walking through the streets of Rome and all the different places and the student that we went to, and the students just loved it. And they were very solitary. On the bus, they weren't. But when they would go to a site and they would find their place that they wanted to sit and draw, there weren't iPads. It was true drawing. And so that was Gregory's experience with the enrichment of foreign travel and its impact on faculty and students, and mine was more personal. The other piece of it in terms of our philanthropy is Students in Need and the architecture program, and it's the 4th and 5th year. I first thought about it because of President Winterstein. We're fellow members of Rotary. Both of us don't attend as much as we might. It's not that our hearts aren't in it, but I just happened to be at a Rotary meeting in which she talked about the concept of philanthropy and support for students in financial need. And she gave a couple of very, very compelling examples that it may only be a few $100s, but it makes all the difference in the world. So I remembered, Wendy, your remarks, and it shaped what we decided we would do for the College of Design, and in particular architecture, and that it wasn't because of scholarship. They didn't have to be ranked first or second or anything. It was that they were accepted into their program, the 4th and 5th year, and they needed some financial assistance, and anybody can let their foundation person know that perhaps there's a need, whether it's the student, him or herself, or a faculty member or an advisor. So we both believed in that. I didn't want anyone to have to go to the credit union. So that's sort of the background of these two awards. And Gregory, well, he would have been here with a bow tie. This man had 1,461 bow ties. It's now dropped a little bit because his sons wanted some, and the funeral director, I thought, would look much better in a bow tie then. So he was a force, a delight, and thank you on behalf of Gregory and myself.
Our next award is the Order of the Knoll Cardinal and Gold Award. This award is presented to an individual or couple for providing dedicated and long-term service and creative leadership to the ISU Foundation and Iowa State University. It recognizes those whose involvement with the university and the foundation has been lasting and has made a substantial impact in promoting and expanding philanthropy that supports Iowa State. This award is presented to Scott and Nancy Armbruster. Scott is a 1975 graduate in veterinary medicine and is co-founder of Paradox Embryo Transfer. Nancy earned her bachelor's in food and nutrition in 1973 and is a retired vice president of Screeber Foods. Scott and Nancy, please come forward. Scott and Nancy are tireless supporters of both their home colleges and the university as a whole through their volunteer service and leadership and their generous commitments to scholarships, professorships, and capital projects. As noted in the awards booklet, one of the most recognizable contributions benefited the College of Veterinary Medicine. They led the project to purchase Frosty the cow. This is a birthing simulator for the college's Clinical Skills Lab, which provides students with valuable hands-on experiences in a safe environment. A nominator wrote of Scott and Nancy's university-wide impact, stating, "Their remarkable participation on the Forever True campaign cabinet directly resulted in this historic endeavor reaching its goals in all areas. Scott and Nancy have been instrumental in advancing the mission of Iowa State University. I couldn't agree more. Scott and Nancy, congratulations. We deeply appreciate your support, loyalty, and leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, President Winterstein. And on behalf, we're just very, very honored to receive this award today. And we would like to extend our congratulations also to all the other award recipients for this day. I want to just first of all thank many of you who traveled here today to see us receive this award. Especially want to call out Scott's sister Amy Armbruster and friend Bob Myers. They're an amazing couple, even though he's a University of Nebraska grad and she is an Iowa State Cyclone. So go Cyclones. As you've seen us before, we often give each of our 2 cents, so we'd like to do that today as well. I think, David, as you mentioned, it was many years before you actually got back actively involved with Iowa State. Our story is very similar. And what I'd like to do is have Scott share a little bit of his story and our story about how we got re-engaged after probably about 20 years, yes. 25 years of not being here at Iowa State.
So I graduated from the College of Veterinary Medicine with the objection or the future in cattle reproduction and went to Wisconsin. Little did I know that my College of Veterinary Medicine degree would be my passport to the world's cattle industry. Now, Nancy graduated in food and science. She took her dream job at Pillsbury, was Mary Tyler Moore in Minneapolis for a year and a half. It was in charge of the Pillsbury Bake-Off one year. But she came back when I was a senior and we got married and spent the last 5 months working for Kentucky Fried Chicken. Needless to say, we ate a lot of Kentucky Fried Chicken, Wendell Davis, and studying for boards and whatnot. But anyhow, she followed me to Wisconsin. She was the extension agent while I was the first-year veterinarian, and then we went to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and took a job in HR with Schneider Trucking, which is one of the largest trucking companies, and later left to be VP of HR at in an international food company, and then later community affairs and education. Now you wonder how food and science gets working for a trucking company and ends up in HR.
We had to eat, right?
I married an activities jock. When we were in school, the leadership that the Iowa State activities programs, whether it was the Homecoming Central Committee or Greek Week or whatever, learned a lot about leadership, and that did Nancy wonders. So how we got reconnected with Iowa State was when I was in vet school, I had a resident animal health or animal reproduction professor, Dr. Jim West. And he kept us kind of in tune. He went and practiced in Waverly, Iowa. And while I was learning embryo transfer, he decided to learn embryo transfer. And we were colleagues in an evolving industry, which we later traveled to China and Germany and did some of the first trade missions for the genetics industry with frozen embryos, and we even took fresh embryos one time on an international flight in, that was before they had Yetis. But anyhow, Jim West had taught, and part of the Frosty thing, when I was a senior, we went on a calving project in northeast Iowa, and Jim and a classmate of mine, we delivered 73 calves in 3 days, and we learned every obstacle and problem that could have. So anyhow, Jim came back to Iowa State and kept us informed about the things that were going on in the vet school. Dean John Thompson was coming back. He had grand plans, rebuilding the clinics. And I said, you know, if you're going to come back and teach, and he's a natural educator, maybe we should support it a little bit. So at one of the alumni events, I walked up to John Thompson, introduced myself, and yeah, I'm thinking about maybe doing a professorship. And he went, yes, okay. So the rest of the story is Dr. West was our first holder of our professorship. So John Thompson, being the wise dean that he was, got Nancy involved in the foundation as a governor. So the rest of the story, she got on the executive board, served as chair, and I had the best seat in the house. So we're so pleased that the foundation has allowed us to pursue our passions, mine and agriculture, cattle, veterinary medicine, education. And Nancy is an advocate for women, early childhood development, which we have a professorship, and education. So both of us agree that education's pretty doggone important, which we support tremendously. So it's easy to support faculty, students, and the leadership, and all you have to do is ask any of these deans what you can do, and they'll tell you, but the list will be long. So more than anything, we're proud to be Cyclones.
And just a few more thanks. So as you can see, we have a lot of fun together, and I hope that never stops, and it won't. But just as Scott shared, and I'll read this so it goes faster, we've had a lot of opportunities to fulfill the role of active alumni over the past several years, and we're very grateful to have been asked to share our skills and experiences for the benefit of Iowa State. As we look back on our lives, we reflect not only on those life-changing experiences college undergrads, but realize and are grateful for the strong foundation that ISU provided, which helped us create a life that is both rich and blessed in so many ways. We, as Scott mentioned, are especially grateful for Jim West and his wife Mary, who were the first to reach out and really engage us in a meaningful way with Iowa State Vet School. We're also very thankful for their hospitality, as most of the time we stayed at their home those nights for those many meetings, and it was just great fun for us. We're also very thankful for the many unique and talented Iowa State leaders whom we work with and are in awe of as we watch them navigate in a continually changing world. President Winterstein, Larissa Holtmeyer-Jones, Dean Laura Jolly, and Dean Dan Grooms, to name a few. Your vision and your courage inspire us. We don't have time to acknowledge all of you in the room and everyone by name, but to all of you who have helped us on our Iowa State journey, to the friends we've met and reconnected with while experiencing our new Iowa State adventures, we hope you know how very grateful we are for all your help, support, and encouragement. Today's panel, for those of you who are governors and saw that this morning, is just a great example to me of the types of things that Iowa State is doing, and I came away just so inspired and grateful to be part of this great organization. Making a financial donation is relatively easy, but you and your teams are achieving amazing success and accomplishing bold goals by engaging our hearts and our minds, which has created a passion within Scott and me to utilize our philanthropy to make a difference for Iowa State University. For this, we are forever grateful and, of course, forever true. So, thank you very much.
Our next award is the Order of the Noel Campanile Award. This award recognizes the extraordinary long-time support of an individual or couple who has had a significant and inspiring impact on Iowa State University. The award honors those whose loyal philanthropic support has transformed the university. This award is presented to Jack Johnson and his late wife, Carol. Carol earned a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from Iowa State University in 1980. Jack graduated in 1981 with a degree in computer engineering and retired last year from Intel Corporation. Jack, thank you for being here with us. For Jack and Carol, a chance meeting during a math class in Carver Hall blossomed in math. Blossomed into a beautiful Iowa State University love story. Over the next 30-plus years, Jack and Carol would share their love and loyalty across all corners of campus, from the beautification of Lake Laverne and improved spaces in Howe Hall and Coover Hall to the University Library's strategic fund and support for faculty. After Carol's passing in 2014, Jack established the Carol Vaz Johnson Chair in the Department of Chemical and Biological Engineering, or as he affectionately refers to it, Carol's Chair. Carol was a pioneer for women in engineering, blazing new trails along her time working for Monsanto and Intel. Jack spent the last few years of his career mentoring young engineers at Intel and hopes to continue that work at Iowa State. Jack, our students will benefit greatly from your expertise and experience. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you for those kind words. As I look back, it is easy to see that Iowa State was the college our families attended. My mother, Irma, graduated from ISU, as well as my older sisters, Barbara and Kathy. So I was very familiar with the campus and the university. For my late wife, Carol, it was her older sister, Joanne Voss, who graduated from the Vets College a few years ahead of her. Her younger brother, Jay, also graduated from ISU. So ISU was the place we knew we wanted to be. Carol and I, we did meet in the math class. It was our sophomore year, Differential Equations 2 in Carver Hall. Yes. There were only 2 women in the class. The interesting part was I knew the other woman already had 2 boyfriends. So I made a point to sit next to Carol, and the rest is history. Iowa State gave Carol and I the foundation we needed to build our careers and our lives. We were molded by our professors who taught us much more than just what was in the textbooks. For Carol, it was names like Larson and Seagrave and Riley and Glatz. For me, it was names like Horton and Camp and Smay and many others. We began to give back to Iowa State early in our careers. We started small, we did some brick and mortar donations, and then we did an assistant professorship. When I lost Carol and I decided to honor her memory with the chair, which we call Carol's Chair, it was the right thing to do, and it was something that was something I've been thinking about for quite a while. It is now held by Surya, who is here today. She is also a very special professor in so many ways, and we're so happy that she holds that chair. We always enjoyed giving back to this wonderful institution that meant so much to both of us. Thank you for bestowing this award, and I am deeply grateful. Iowa State is a very special place, and Carol and I were very lucky to have attended this wonderful university. Thank you so much.
Our next award is the Order of the Knoll True and Valiant Award. This award is presented to an individual, couple, or family to recognize exceptional service, generosity, and outstanding leadership that has helped transform Iowa State University. Recipients bring big picture perspectives and are commanding leaders. This is only the 3rd time in Iowa State University history that this award has been presented. I'm delighted to bestow this award on the Jardine family. Ann Jardine and her late husband Russ, founder of Heartland Express, Mike and Nicole Jardine, Julie and Eric Durr, and Angela and Brian Jansen. Angie, Julie, and Mike, would you please come forward? The impact of the Jardine family that it has had on Iowa State and Ivy College of Business is immeasurable. It's all the more extraordinary when you consider that neither Ann nor Russ nor any of their 3 children attended Iowa State University. Their philanthropic spirit is a testament to the family's core values and unwavering belief in the power of education. Ann and Russ helped usher in a new era of growth and success for the College of Business with their lead gift to build the Jardine Business School in 2003. Less than 2 decades later, the college outgrew the facility, and the Jardine family stepped in again, providing the lead gift for a 45,000 square foot expansion. And while the Jardine building is the most visible display of the family's generosity, they've also made a difference inside the college's walls, investing in graduate programs and programs to enhance leadership skills for freshmen and sophomores. I mentioned that none of the Jardines are Iowa State graduates, but that's about to change. We're very excited that grandson Clay will become the family's first official Cyclone. He'll graduate in 2 weeks from the Ivy College of Business, and a second grandson, Grant, will begin at ISU this fall. Our deep thanks and congratulations to the Jardine family for their enduring support and philanthropy.
Thank you, President Winterstein. It's an honor to be here today. I'm going to rattle off a few things, and I hope at the end you understand where we're coming from. Like Wendy's first comment about my mom and dad being from Minnesota, and and them not graduating from Iowa State. But they started their life in Iowa right after they were married. And these two were born in Hamburg, Iowa. I was born in Shenandoah, Iowa. My wife in Mason City. Angie's husband in Iowa Falls. Julie's husband in Cedar Rapids. And so we've been all around the state to start. And then we all went to college. And we have one that went to Iowa State, one that went to Iowa, one that went to Wartburg. I myself went to Luther. We had one at Kirkwood, and we had one at UNI. And we've all lived in Solon for the last 25 years, and that's where our children have grown up. So we've seen every part of the state, been involved in every part of the state. And that was what was important to our parents, was the state of Iowa. And it's given so much to our family that we feel the need to give back to the state of Iowa. And we've done that over many, many years. We're so glad to be part of Iowa State. And it all started really here at Iowa State with Dr. Ben Allen. If you could stand for just a second, Doc. True friends with my dad, and has been on our board of directors at Heartland Express for 27 years, and has guided us up and down the roads of the United States with our trucking company for many, many years. And when I think about our trucking company now, with 25 locations throughout the United States, from Tacoma, Washington, to Jacksonville, Florida, to Atlanta, to Dallas, Memphis, Phoenix. I'm not going to name all 25 of them, but you get the point. As a trucking company, we could have our headquarters any place in America, really, if we had our choice, and we do. We could be in Dallas, we could be in LA, we could be in Denver, wherever it is, but we choose to be in Iowa. We choose to be in Iowa for so many reasons that Iowa State represents, and so many good people. And we are glad to be part of it, proud to be here today, and we thank you all very much.
I'm so glad that Mike recognized Ben Allen, served as our interim president, did such a great job in that role and role as dean and so many other roles at Iowa State. When he was interim president, we were working on a project together, and Ben Allen said, "Oh, I'm just an old trucker, Wendy." That's really not true, but it was a funny statement. But good. Ben, stand up again. Let us thank you for what you've done for Iowa State. Next are the awards presented by Iowa State through the Iowa State University Alumni Association. First is the Honorary Alumni Award. This is the highest honor given by Iowa State to individuals who are not graduates of the university, but who have made significant contributions to the university's welfare, reputation, prestige, and pursuit of excellence, and who should be recognized as members of our alumni family. This award is presented to Pamela Pithen, retired owner and operator of Forget-Me-Nots Flower Shop. Pam, would you please come forward? Pam may not have graduated from Iowa State, but her loyalty and commitment to the university are more than 50 years strong. She enrolled at ISU in the early 1970s, but left after 2 years to work for the Iowa State Alumni Association and financially support her husband, Larry, as he completed his engineering degree. Over the years, Pam has become deeply involved, serving on many College of Engineering committees, including most recently the college's Forever True for Iowa State campaign committee. She's also hosted multiple College of Engineering gatherings and attended numerous university events. She's logged countless miles traveling between her home in the Quad Cities and the Iowa State campus. Pam's deep love for Iowa State is evident through the relationships she's nurtured with alumni, her staunch support of the ISU Alumni Association, and her commitment to promoting, advancing, and paying it forward to make Iowa State the very best it can be. Pam, we're so pleased to recognize you with an honorary alumni degree. Congratulations.
Thank you, Wendy. First of all, I would like to thank all of those at the Alumni Association involved with nominating and selecting me for this award. I am truly honored and humbly received this amazing award. My Iowa State journey started back in 1970 when I enrolled in what was called the Child Development Program, which is similar to the current Early Education Childhood Program now. I completed my freshman and sophomore years here at Iowa State. My husband, Larry, was a year ahead of me and had 1 year left to complete his engineering degree. In order to help him finish, I dropped out of school and went to work full-time at the Alumni Association, which was interesting in itself. I had to wait over 20 years before I completed my degree in psychology in the Quad Cities. So you see, my intentions always were to be a Cyclone graduate. But life got in the way. Now I can proudly say I am a Cyclone alum. Iowa State has always held a special place in my heart. My first introduction to the campus was at 981 Pamela Court. That was certainly an eye-opening experience. But the campus became my home for 3 years, and I grew to love everything about Iowa State. Over the years, Larry and I have been proud supporters of ISU with both our time and talent. We truly love this university and have many fellow alumni friends. I look forward now to being added to the list of ISU alums. Again, thank you for this award.
Our next honorees are the recipients of the Distinguished Alumni Award. This is the highest honor given to a graduate of Iowa State, and it recognizes their outstanding contributions to their profession or life's work. We have 3 individuals to recognize. The first recipient is Dr. Mark Erlander. Mark earned his master's in biochemistry and biophysics from Iowa State in 1984. He also holds a bachelor's degree from the University of California, Davis, and a PhD from the University of California, Los Angeles. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Cardiff Oncology. Mark, please come forward. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. Mark's career spans more than 20 years of directing drug discovery efforts and developing precision cancer diagnostics. He previously worked as the chief scientific officer at Biotheranostics, which developed the breast cancer index test. This test determines whether a breast cancer patient will benefit from extended hormonal therapy to avoid the risk of reoccurrence of their cancer. Mark entered therapeutics as a group leader and then research fellow in drug discovery at Johnson & Johnson. Before that, he was an assistant professor at the Scripps Research Institute. Mark is an accomplished researcher in oncology, therapeutics, diagnostic, and genomic technologies with 44 issued U.S. patents and over 50 pending applications. He's co-authored over 90 scientific publications. Mark, you are truly a distinguished alumnus of Iowa State University. Congratulations, Mark.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to receive this gift and this award. And I do thank, I don't know if Dr. Bites is here right now, if he is or not. There he is. Can you stand for a minute? Good. Dr. Bites, I am one of 109 students that he has mentored so far here at Iowa State. So I really appreciate, and he was really the guy that got me going in science. I came here in 1981, and actually my dad came here in 1952 to Gilman Hall and got his PhD in biochemistry in 1956. I came to the same building, Gilman Hall, in 1981. A lot hadn't changed. But Dr. Bites, he was basically co-appointment in animal science and biochemistry, and he gave me a pitch on a project dealing with stress-susceptible pigs. Only in Iowa State could you work on pigs like this, and they were a model animal for Parkinson's disease. And I was so intrigued by that I then, it really was what started me here. And I have to say one other thing. Iowa State, for me, was what I've always called, and I've told people over the years, was my proving ground. I know all of you, as you sit here today, you had your proving ground, where you proved that you could do it. And Iowa State was where my proving ground was. The biochemistry department set the bar really high, and a lot of people failed, actually. And so I was able to be successful, and I never looked back after that, because I always knew, and I always told people, I said, when I was able to do it at Iowa State, I can do anything, and I believe in myself. So anyway, thank you very much for this honor. I actually, quite frankly, was surprised, and I told, when Dr. Bites called me, I said, well, I'm going to show up. I'm coming. So anyway, thank you all, and this has been a wonderful time. I had a wonderful time with the graduate students in the biochemistry, biophysics, and molecular biology program this morning. There's a lot of talent here. I was very excited. They all told me there are projects, and I have to say, I haven't been back here for 20 years, and I really miss Ames, Iowa, and a lot has changed since I last here. But I did find the place I used to live, and it looks better now than it did when I was there. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. And now I'm going to make Dr. Bites stand up. This is fun. Let's see, where is he again? Okay, Dr. Bites, stand up. Wait. So, Dr. Bites, tell the audience how many semesters you have taught at Iowa State University. Our next recipient is Dr. Robert Walton. Robert earned his PhD in animal science from Iowa State University in 1961. He also holds a bachelor's and master's degree from Oklahoma State University. He is retired CEO and Chairman Emeritus of American Breeding Service, or ABS Global. Robert, would you please come forward? Very good. A pioneer in managing what is now referred to as big data in animal agriculture, Robert's work has transformed the dairy industry and had a major impact on both the beef cattle and plant genetics fields. He implemented progeny testing of dairy bulls and developed a mathematical formula for evaluating bulls that was adopted by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. He also promoted the use of frozen semen and direct herd marketing to make quality genetic material available to producers in remote locations. This led to the development of artificial insemination training schools across the country. In addition, his efforts have helped reduce the carbon footprint of agricultural production worldwide. Aside from his professional accomplishments, Robert is a dedicated volunteer, giving generously of his time. He has also given generously to support Iowa State by establishing the Robert E. Walton Scholarship Fund for students in animal science with an interest in genetics. Robert, we're so pleased to recognize you with the Distinguished Alumni Service Award.
Thank you. Is this okay? Can you hear me? Anyway, thank you.
I'm sorry, so sorry.
Thank you very much, Wendy. I'm sorry I can't stand up to the panel, but when you're 91 years old plus, these things happen to you. But it sure beats the alternative. I'm very honored by this, Wendy, and I've probably written my comments 50 times because they said it's supposed to be about 2 or 3 minutes, and the first draft was 30 minutes. So I kept going through it and taking out what I thought we could eliminate, and it's a tough job because there were so many things I want to say about what the role Iowa State played in my life and career. So I think but I'm going to look at my notes. And at my age, you don't give public speeches very much anymore. So, but I want to make sure because I took so many out, I want to make sure I don't. But one of the real privileges in my life has been being able to work with the genetic system that God created and gave to us, and which is the basis of every living thing in the world. Now, I first learned more about genetics when I was 13 years old in my first FFA class, and when I learned about this fellow named Gregor Mendel, who was a monk in Austria, and he first deciphered how the genetic system worked, that there were genes, and they were in pairs, and they segregated at random. Now, it was a long time before we made some more progress from that. In more recent years, they made dramatic progress. But what he deciphered then is still fundamental, the basis of all it is. And so that's what I've been dedicated to the study of genetics ever since that time. I'm just going to mention briefly at this point Dr. Lush. Many of you will know who he was, but he was a long-time professor here. He totally changed the whole program of animal breeding and genetics worldwide. But I'll come back to him in a minute, but so I want you to know where he fits in. I then went to Oklahoma State University, got my degree there, and then I went to the Royal Agricultural College of Sweden as an exchange student in 1952. Now, that was kind of novel then because there weren't many schools that did exchange programs like that. But when I got there, I discovered, and I didn't know who I was going to see there, but Dr. Ivar Johansson, who got his PhD from the University of Wisconsin in 1922. And one of his classmates was Dr. J.L. Lush, who I've just mentioned. So they all went to school together. They remained lifelong friends and worked together. And Dr. Iverson kind of became almost Dr. Lush in Europe. Anyway, so I began taking his studies, his courses in genetics, and early on he said, he gave me my first copy of Dr. Lush's book. That's the first time I really found out who Dr. Lush was. I'd never met him at that time. He gave me a copy of his book, and he said, a special assignment for you, I want you to study this book all year long and give a seminar at the end of the year to all of my students. Well, that was a tall order. And after studying that book, a quotation I remember writing in the front of his book, "Genius that lights, that dazzles mortal eyes, is oft but perseverance in disguise." Dr. Lush was no question a genius, but he worked very hard, and he very much persevered. Anyway, by the time I gave that seminar, even though I'd never met Dr. Lush, I felt like he was an old friend, and it played a role in my relationship with him in the rest of my life and career, up to now. Then I spent a year and a half traveling around Europe and England and so forth, but then eventually got back to the USA and went to Oklahoma State, got my master's degree there. And I'll just mention I won the heavyweight wrestling championship in the intramurals. I only tell you that because it kind of relates to the story a little bit later on. As I was finishing that year there, I received the Danforth Fellowship, and that was a fairly new program then. Danforth had done a lot of things, but this was a new program he started for people doing graduate work, could be going in the education field. And it would pay for your whole education for your PhD student. So I could go to any university in the country that would have me. And I picked Iowa State and Dr. Lush, and he agreed to have me. So that's what brought me to Iowa State. And as I said, he completely revolutionized the whole field of animal breeding and genetics. And because of that, he attracted students from all around the world. In fact, there were 5 in my group over there. There were 5 different countries. But his students from before that were all over the world, went back to those countries. In addition, there were many professors in other places around the world that already had their PhDs in genetics, but they didn't understand what he was doing. So they came to Iowa State here for maybe 2 or 3 months and spent time with Dr. Lush, and most of those would give a seminar for us students. So that added to the network of people that we, and that played what I'm going to tell you is the same that beyond what you learned in the classroom, things that really affected your life. And that was that network of the J.L. Lush family was just worldwide. So when later on in my life, I began to get involved in international business and develop international markets, we had this network of all of these people that we all knew about each other. And they couldn't necessarily help in marketing, but they could tell me who the right people were to contact in this country and that country. Dr. Lush was one of the greatest teachers I ever had, but it was tough because what he was teaching us was pretty complex. And one of the things that really helped us, older students, we were all in one great big room, the older students kind of helped the newer students because they'd already been through that and they finally understood what it was all about. That was part of the educational system that he utilized. Then I want to tell you about a story about Dr. Hazel, who was Dr. Lush's sort of assistant. And he'd been Dr. Lush's student before and then came back on his staff. And he was brilliant. But he tended to deal with the customers working with meat animals, beef cattle, swine. Dr. Lush dealt with students who were in the dairy field. So Dr. Hazel didn't know me very well, and he often had his students over to his home on the weekend, maybe every 2 or 3 months, and would have a barbecue, and then he'd have them play poker because he thought that was a great way to learn mathematics, where all the cards were. But apparently one evening he said to his students, "I don't think Walton's going to make it." Fortunately, none of them told me that at that time. But it was about, I found that part of what triggered that off. I was very much I was Danforth Fellowship, so I was kind of independent. I didn't get a pay scale from Iowa State. I could kind of do what I wanted to do. I was very interested in athletics, so I thought I'll challenge these Iowa guys on this wrestling thing. So I actually tried out the intramural, but I lost in the finals for the championship on points, but almost got it. And then I qualified as a referee for high school football games and basketball games, which gave me something to do on Fridays and Saturdays. And I also was almost every softball team there was on the campus. And so Dr. Hazel recognized that. And he came, because he didn't know me very well, so he came to the conclusion that I was really an athletic jock and I wasn't a serious student. Now, obviously, that wasn't true, but that's what he thought. Let's see here. Anyway, about 15 years later, Andy Swagger, many of you might know him, but he's now retired dean at Virginia Tech. He was a classmate of mine here. And I visited him out in Nebraska where he was on the staff there. And he told me that story of Dr. Hazel. But thank goodness it didn't bother me then because I was already introduced all these genetic programs in the industry. I was president of the company. So, but if I'd known that earlier, it would really have bothered me. But 10 years later, when Dr. Lusher passed away, many of us came back for his memorial service. Dr. Hazel, who had retired, came back for that service. And some of you know who Richard Wilhelm was. He was a classmate of mine all the way from Oklahoma and here. And I was visiting with him in his office when Dr. Hazel came in and sat down in the office there. But Richard Wilhelm had to go away to take care of something for a minute. So just Dr. Hazel and I were the only ones in the room. I didn't raise the question, but he did. So he told me the story, what he said about me 25 years before. Then he tapped me on the arm and he said, "You did okay, kid." And then I took a job. I'd done all of my coursework, but I hadn't finished my thesis. But there was a job in Kentucky where the professor was going to leave for Fulbright, and he needed somebody to replace him on the 1st of October. So everybody agreed I could leave Wisconsin, Kentucky and Iowa State and go take the job in Kentucky. It worked out, but it was a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be because when you're trying to write a thesis and you're teaching and you get really involved. And I love teaching. I love the academic world. But I taught teaching. I was teaching and coaching and getting involved with the AI industry. But along the way, as I kept teaching, I kept coming up with what I call pipe dreams, ideas of how you could do something with genetics that had never been done before. Now I realized that neither my students or I would ever have the wherewithal to do what my dream kept coming up with. I had no idea it'd ever happen, but it was a wonderful thing to keep pipe dreaming about how all that could be done. But I really loved the teaching. I loved the academic life, so I wasn't looking to go somewhere else. But then I've been there about 4 years, and I had a call from American Reader Service. They wanted to hire a professional geneticist to totally change the genetic program that they'd been doing for 20 years. And I think the reason I was on their checklist was because I was one of the last students of Dr. Lush. Anyway, I said to my department head, because I didn't know much about ABS, what I should do about that. And he said, I wouldn't even bother to answer the damn letter. I was shocked at that, but I later found out, that was too long a story to tell you here, but there was a lot of people felt that way about the company. And anyway, another fellow said I should go interview anyway. So I went up to ABS and interviewed. I didn't tell them about my pipe dream, but I listened to what they wanted to do. And about a month later, they offered me the job. Well, I told my department head, and that went to the dean. And the dean, they didn't want to lose me. So the dean came up with a plan to give me a salary increase, a promotion from assistant to associate professor, and increase my research budget. So I told ABS no. About a month later, the dean canceled. He reneged that whole thing. That was a bit of a shock. And except for Wendy, as you know, was the dean before she became president, I've never trusted a dean since then. but with one exception. Yesterday and today, I met and got acquainted with Dean Robinson, and I would absolutely trust him. You're here, aren't you, Sam? No. Anyway, about 2 days later, without knowing what just happened, ABS called again and offered me an even bigger salary than what I'd originally offered. It took me totally 2 seconds to say yes after what I'd just experienced with that university. So I left the academic world and went into the commercial world. I was still a teacher. I just had a bigger classroom, and I was the first professional geneticist in in the industry, and I introduced a lot of new genetic programs, some of which the USDA, 2 or 3 years later, put them in practice. They just gave it a new name. I introduced the new genetic programs in dairy cattle breeding involving some 60,000 cows all across the country. And it turned out to be very successful. But about 5 years later, because I messed that up so badly, they made me the president of the company. Well, there were some things happened that I'd anticipated, and I'd written to management. I was just a very junior executive that managed about the problems they had in marketing and the solutions to those problems. But they never even answered my letter. About a year and a half later, what I said was going to happen happened, and the company was essentially bankrupt. And that's why somebody said when, and the owner was J. Rockefeller Prentice, who was the grandson of John D. Rockefeller. He was an older guy then, and he'd sponsored what it took for the company, millions of dollars over the years. But now he was pretty old, and so the ABS management went down to tell him what had happened, and he said, I don't think I can. I can't handle it anymore. The only thing to do is liquidate the company. So that was an assignment to the management. And apparently after a week or so of that, somebody in that group said, maybe before we liquidate the company, we ought to talk to that young whippersnapper that sent us that letter about a year ago. So they called me in for that and met in Chicago where Mr. Prentice lived, and the staff was there. I didn't know quite what to expect from all that. I think they hoped I might save the day. Anyway, I kind of listened for a little bit, and then I said, well, just all of the group really, but Mr. Prentice, who was one part of the audience, the staff who all knew they were going to lose their job if something didn't happen, and so I pointed out that the company, we didn't need nearly as much money as they might think we would need to pull it out. That the dairy program, who would start graduating the first bulls from my progeny testing program in about another year and a half, was going to be fantastic, and the beef program was just pretty small, but it had a fantastic future that they hadn't been touching on. Some of you may know the name Dr. Ray Woodward, who was from Miles City, Montana, and he was our beef geneticist. And he'd done a great program genetically, but he didn't have much support in the marketing because all of the ABS staff were dairy guys. So one of my commitments when I became president was to really give, and I became a great friend with Ray Woodward, really give him the marketing support, what his program deserved. And it worked. Let's see. Anyway, once I became the president and we solved the money problem, we expanded the dairy program. We really expanded the beef program, totally restructured our marketing program and the things I told them the year before that. And then I really went after the international market, which, as I said earlier, that was helped because all the contacts I had from Dr. Lush's followers, his disciples all over the world. That's a big page now. Anyway, about that time, W.R. Grace, New York's big firm, bought ABS, and that's brought a lot of changes. But I was still president at that point, and at that time, I'd never had a formal business course in my life, and so Grace thought I should have a business course. So they sent me to Harvard for the 4-month sort of speeded up MBA course, and there were 150 in our class, from 30 different countries, and I was the only one in agriculture. And after a short time up there, the Harvard professors started talking about all these new programs they've just been introducing, about how you bring logic into thing, statistics, mathematics, regression analysis. And I thought, wait a minute. We've been using all those things in genetics for 50 years. That's what Dr. Lush taught us. So Harvard was just a lark. What I really had to learn was all the fancy names that they were giving these things that we've been using, and that's what I'd used all my time. So I decided then I'd actually had the best business course in the world, having studied Dr. Lush's courses. A quotation I came across that day: happiness is not how much you have or accumulate or how you feel. It's what you do and what you do with your life. Anybody know who wrote that? Aristotle, 2,500 years ago. Now, I don't know how he got so wise. As far as I know, he never attended Iowa State University, did he? Didn't even get a degree here. But it was a remarkable thought, and it's still so true today. I want to really thank again Dr. Lush and Iowa State University for giving me the insight of what happiness really was, what you do with your life. And just to touch on one thing, the work I did in dairy cattle, in beef cattle, and later in my career when I was president of yet another company in the plant world. And so we actually, under contract, Monsanto actually produced the first Roundup Ready soybeans in the world. And then we were the first ones to do something like that. Other companies after that emulated what we'd done. So they did work with corn and wheat and cotton and others, and they were introduced. So it's about I think last year I saw a report how many acres of GMO plants are planted around the world every year. Any guesses? 450 million acres. And because that meant all these things had genetic input that made them better adapted to what we need to do, made the agriculture much more efficient. It really changed it. So as I thought back on that, I think that my teams, I had a number of them, my teams and I, what we did in our work, perhaps did more in reducing the carbon imprint on agriculture production, maybe than anybody else in our generation. It's really a dramatic thing. Slightly different one, but I just saw a month ago so that you dropped out of AAU, and I want to commend you on that. For the reason, and I say that because that was a tough decision, I'm sure, but you made the right decision. And because of not only you, but your predecessors over the years have made tough and really the right decisions. And that's why I am so proud to get this recognition from Iowa State. You really, and that's why it's in our field, it's one of the great universities in the world. One last word about Dr. Hazel. If he were here now, when he sees the wonderful award I'm getting today, he might come over and tap me on the arm and say, "You did okay, kid." Anyway, about 6 years ago, and Wendy will remember that, I received the Henry Wallace Award here. And I kind of surprised him, but I gave a letter at that time with $50,000 in it to establish a new genetic program for undergraduate students here. But I did it in memory of 4 different people. The first was my late wife, Jan, whom I met here. She was getting a master's degree in child development. And this is our granddaughter, Paige. The second one was Chuck Walton, who was my kid brother. He played football here in the early 60s. And some of the older ones, remember, they were referred to as the Dirty 30s. That ring a bell with some of you. They're not they played dirty, but there were only about 30 of them. They played all the way, defense and offense. So when the game was over, the uniforms were pretty dirty. They also beat Oklahoma 2 of the 3 years my brother was on the varsity. He then was drafted by the Lions in the draft, but he didn't think he could make it to the Lions, so he went to Canada instead. He played 2 years at Montreal, then was traded to Hamilton Tiger Cats, and while he was there, they won the Grey Cup, which is like the Super Bowl down here. And then by then he was an established star. So he came back to NFL, and the Lions still had the rat stripe. So he went to the Lions. So he was a starting left guard for 9 years at the Detroit Lions. So. Now, his daughter, Courtney, are you here? Wave your hand. His daughter is up today for several reasons, but one of them, she wants to see where her father went to school and where he played football. Yeah. Good to have you here. But anyway, thanks to I don't know who all pulled this off, but I'm sure Wendy had a lot to do with it. I know that Bobby Joe Smith had a lot to do with it, and maybe it was others, but I deeply appreciate it. And finally, I want to just thank my various families, some from all come all over the country to be here today. I'm just deeply honored for that. But thank you very, very much.
These are great stories. This is where we've been, where we've come from. It's just delightful to hear these personal stories of success and accomplishment. Our final recipient today is Dr. Elizabeth Yetley. Elizabeth earned 3 degrees from Iowa State University, a bachelor's in community nutrition in 1963, a master's in food nutrition in 1970, and a PhD in food nutrition in 1974. She retired as a senior nutrition research scientist with the National Institutes of Health. Elizabeth, would you please come forward? For 24 years, Elizabeth worked with the Food and Drug Administration as a nutrition scientist and eventually as FDA's lead scientist for nutrition. She provided leadership within government agencies and to foreign governments. She also became the first member of the Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition to receive an appointment to the Food and Drug Administration's Senior Biomedical Research Service. In 2004, Elizabeth joined the National Institutes of Health as a nutrition research scientist, where she developed research and science-based strategies for the role of nutrients in disease prevention. Elizabeth credits Iowa State for fostering her love of science and dedication to helping others. In addition to her wonderful educational experience, one of Elizabeth's favorite memories is meeting her husband of 61 years here at Iowa State. He even proposed to her under the campanile. I believe that makes her an official co-ed. Elizabeth, we're so proud to honor you as a distinguished alumni. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Fortunately for you, but unfortunately for me, I apparently did not get the memo about needing prepared remarks. So this will be short and sweet and off the cuff. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Don Bites, who I didn't know would be here, but Don was on my graduate committee for my master's and my PhD. He gave me tough questions. He remembers, and he was a great teacher and great inspiration. I'm deeply grateful for this award. My Iowa State degree has meant a great deal to me. As a wife, I was always following my husband as his career moved from location to location. And so when I came to a new location, I had to find a new job, which meant I pounded the pavement, which, by the way, Iowa State didn't teach me how to pound the pavement and find a new job, but I learned how to do it. And at every time I needed a new job, and I had competitors for that job, my Iowa State degree was my competitive advantage. They always said, Iowa State Nutrition is a top-notch school, so I am very appreciative. My career goals were simple. I wanted to be a good scientist. But I ended up in jobs where promotions kept coming despite my objections. In fact, I had a boss once who said, "Doggone it, Yetley." His language was more colorful than that. But doggone it, Yetley, why do I have to drag you kicking and screaming to every promotion I ram down your throat? And I really
was not that ambitious, but I kept being promoted, and that offered a lot of interesting opportunities. I've been in Moscow to help the government there plan national fortification. I've been in Israel. My husband and I were in Southeast Asia for a number of years. I served as lead U.S. representative for international food trade standards. And so the opportunities have really been great, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And interestingly to me, because of my strong scientific background that I received at Iowa State, I could hold my own, whether I was dealing with the FDA commissioner, who could be very demanding, I was dealing with a congressional committee, I was dealing with top physicians and scientists at the National Institute of Health or the Centers for Disease Control. I could remain as a viable person in the discussions and in the projects that we dealt with. So again, I'm appreciative to Iowa State. The major projects that we worked on and completed are the nutrition label on your food products. We had 2 years to do it. It was very complex. It was congressionally mandated down to minute details, but we did it. There were a lot of divorces after that, fortunately not me, because people worked 24/7, 7 days a week for 2 years. The other thing that I am very proud of is that I implemented the folic acid fortification of the U.S. food supply as a preventive measure for preventing birth defects, of certain kind of birth defects in women of childbearing age. And then when I was at NIH, I was able to work with the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, our premier health survey in the United States, to rectify some of the problems, measurement problems, and Don, you'll appreciate this, they're biochemical measurement problems for assessing nutritional biomarkers in that survey, and it's become very successful and a model of how to make improvements in these national surveys as time goes on. So I am very appreciative, and I'm very glad to be back on the Iowa State campus after many years away.
Just as Elizabeth sits down, I'm going to ask all of our award recipients to stand. On behalf of Iowa State, we are extremely proud of you, and we are deeply grateful for your many contributions to our university, our nation, and our world. We really can't thank you enough for everything that you've accomplished and for being here with us today to share your story. Another round of applause for our award winners. I also want to thank the members of the audience for joining us today and for being part of this very special celebration of excellence of Iowa State. And thanks for all the faculty and staff members that were here to celebrate as well. I didn't make Jim West stand. There are others in the audience that played key roles that I could also embarrass, but what a wonderful afternoon. That concludes our program. Thank you all for being here.